When did you realize you are dating the wrong person right now? My ex-boyfriend and I had very different views. It bothered me, but not that much. One day we were sitting in a coffee shop with a good friend of mine, and my boyfriend kept on talking about some of his views. I cannot remember the topic, but the facts he used were from TikTok. I sat there, staring at him, and I was like, Jesus, you are so self-absorbed, but at the same time incredibly stupid. WTF am I doing with you? I even made a face like he smelled, and my friend noticed that. That was the exact moment my feelings stopped. When living with him made me really depressed and suicidal. Suddenly, I stayed because I thought it was my job to fix things. Nothing I did was ever good enough, and somehow it was always my fault. Plus, he lied constantly. So many red flags I ignored because I was the one who changed every aspect of my life to be with someone I thought loved me. I'm grateful I'll never make that mistake again, lol. Oh, I was watching cricket with him despite not being interested in it at all. And he wouldn't even spend 5 minutes watching part of a David Attenborough documentary with me because he wasn't interested. The first sign, the most recent being him abusing me and saying God will forgive all his sins. I always knew he wasn't the one. I was afraid of being alone. I was away from home for 3 months. The first day I got back, the apartment was a mess, and he made an even bigger mess when I left for 2 hours. He expected me to clean up everything. I was done with arguing, cleaning, and him talking to other girls then gaslighting me about it, so I left that night. Packed my stuff a day or two later, and do not miss it a single bit. I dated someone for 5 years before I realized she was not the one. Was on a cruise with some friends during Valentine's Day. All the other guys that had someone were talking about plans they made and how much they were looking forward to see them after the cruise. I just wanted to keep partying. Realized I had actually found an amazing roommate, but not my soulmate. The person was jobless and couldn't piece together a resume for 2.5 months. I feel like I wasn't asking for much. Just anything where they were guaranteed part-time work during the week with some sort of steady income in which they could balance for their passions. Time ticked for too long, and I was immediately elated post-breakup. She told me I wasn't allowed to buy the car I wanted because it was impractical. Myself financially. Pay my bills with plenty left to throw into savings every paycheck. We're not even married, no kids, and I needed a vehicle that could easily hold a bunch of fishing equipment, so goodbye ex. Hello pickup truck. When she said I can have any guy I want, you are lucky I like you. It didn't make me feel special. It made me feel expendable and waiting to be replaced. And yes, she said variations of this a few times, and that was essentially her way of making me realize that I'd better take her side no matter what or she will replace me. After reading these comments, I think the answer is now. So many of these stories describe my life and the guy I've been with for years. Most everyone in our life, even some of his good friends, has at one time or another told me he needs to treat me better or that they don't know how I do it. A very long time ago, I used to travel for work. When I landed at the client, I was awaited by friends and co-workers. Flip it around and no one was there. That happened once and I pulled the plug. Don't chase love and affection if it's not freely given. Life is too short for that. He's in college in another state and will be moving to another state soon. I don't think this is going to work. I never did long distance and it's very hard. I don't see myself wanting someone else anytime soon. But I need affection and be able to see him all the time. Or upset me and she didn't care to work on them, so I stopped being the first to reach out and haven't heard a word from her in 3 days. Guess my suspicion that she was entering other guys was right. When hanging out with him became more of a chore than enjoyable. I broke it off today, but I am still very upset about it. I still care about him, and he cares about me so much that I think it was the right choice. Only time will tell. When I found out her only ambition in life was to watch TV, shop online with my money, and spend it faster than I could earn it. Oh, and complain incessantly. Poor hygiene as well. Edit and remain permanently unemployed. When he kept telling me that every girl is crazy for him, and that I should be honored to be with him. Mind you, this is after I finally decided to stand up to all the gaslighting, insults, taunting, etc. I got diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and he decided to tell me he'd never gotten the opportunity to live out his life alone like I had when I was in my early 20s and bailed. After 8, almost 9 years, I was dating a girl and we cuddled one night. I woke up with her dry humping my butt as if she had a penis. Sounds and all. That was enough for me to make a disappearing exit. This was a few years ago. I told my then boyfriend that I wished to move abroad for masters and to help my family. He asked me, where am I in your plans? That's when I knew. When I saw his message to his best friend when we first met and he told him I'm not the prettiest girl, but at least I have potential because I gym and am nice. When I woke up every day and did things with them out of convenience, routine, and familiarity, not because I had fun with them anymore or saw a future. Many years ago, when I thought I was coming home from work to an empty house and I saw their car in our driveway, and I felt immediately exhausted. When he told me on our wedding night he can finally be himself because it's harder to get divorced than break up with someone. We were long distance and we spent a week no contact nearly. I realized I did not miss him, nor did I think about him once. When I was walking one dark night and something just told me, she isn't that one, isn't she? That night everything changed. When they said that I was way more invested in the relationship than they were, and they couldn't see a future with me. When I realized I was always the one reaching out to schedule time together, and was always the one to text first. When he started being very misogynistic and telling me that I needed to go no contact with my family and friends. When I laid in bed next to them, and the thought of tolerating him for the rest of my life was terrifying. When I was crying by the floor, and she kicked my head and said something like she kicks the garbage. When he told me I had better start acting right because he has lots of competition. When I broke down and told her I was suicidal and she told me to go fuck myself. When I started receiving calls if I didn't reply their texts within 2 minutes. Whenever I realized how unhappy they were when they weren't cheating on me. When I'm going through so much health-wise and he left me crying by myself. When I find myself doing more for him and putting his needs above my own. When I found out she was using drugs while pregnant with our child. One day I realized I had become a smaller version of myself. When he got violent and I saw nothing but rage in his eyes.